But thanks for coming. I really am excited about what's going to happen all morning. I think it's so rare that we ever get time to actually stop and think about what we're doing as we parent. We're so busy just doing it. We don't have the time to just stop and reflect and think about principles and think about truths and think about what's most important. And so that's what this is designed to do, just to carve out the time to where we can do that. And we're going to cover a lot of stuff. It's going to be kind of like drinking from a fire hose, as people say. But the hope isn't that you remember every little thing, although that would be awesome. The point would be to pick up principles, to pick up truths that you can store away, to use later maybe, and also just grab one or two really practical things that you can apply right now if you're a parent, or apply soon if you're going to be a parent one day soon. So just to kind of go through what this morning's going to look like, we're going to start with breakfast, which you guys are already enjoying. So anytime you want to go grab more, we got donuts and muffins and water and coffee and stuff, as you saw. So just feel free to get up and grab more. We're going to be here a few hours, so obviously you're going to want to caffeinate and all that stuff so you can stay awake and pay attention to everything. So anytime you can get up and do that. And then short introduction, that's what this is. I'm going to talk a little bit about our goal as parents and what the goal of parenting is, and kind of set the tone and get us thinking about that. And then we have 3 sessions covering 3 different topics, as you can see in your table of contents there, or schedule there in your packet if you want to open up to the first page. And then there's going to be breakouts after the first session and the third session, but we're going to stay together for those breakouts. So we'll have a kind of a little kids session that's going to be led by Rebecca and Melinda, and then Rebecca and Jerry, and then a big kids session, which is going to be Zach and Lori, and then Zach. But we're going to stay together for all of that. The idea being, if you have big kids, sorry, you have to sit through the little kids, but maybe there's some principles that you can still apply to your big kids. And then if you have little kids, they tend to get bigger. If nothing else happens, they will eventually get bigger, and then we can be on the lookout. And I know for me, I mean, you think, oh, you know, they're just, even with like stuff in your house that you might think is unsafe, when they're like a little baby, you think, oh, you know, we'll leave that there. They're just a baby. They can't even crawl or anything. We'll move that later. I'll screw in that bookshelf or whatever it is when they're older and they're walking around, and then they're 5 years old before you know it, and you've not changed anything. And so it happens faster than you think. And so looking ahead, as Zach's going to be talking about different things that apply to big kids, it's still super applicable because pretty soon they'll be big kids. But all right, we'll just hop into it and hop into the introduction here for the parent training. So the idea behind the whole workshop is that we want to be intentional. That's why we named it Intentional Parenting Workshop. And then the other idea would be that we want our kids to flourish. And that's the idea behind the tree, and behind there's a seed packet at each of your seats, just to help you kind of think about this is our role as parents, that we're the planters and they're the plants, and we're called to cultivate, we're called to create an environment, we're called to give this plant everything it needs so that way it can flourish. And so we gave you those seed packets with a little definition there, just as a reminder, something for you to take home, maybe put somewhere to help you remember to be intentional and remember your role as a parent. But I want to start with here in the introduction by asking a question, and that is, what is the goal of parenting? Because goals are important. Like if we stick with the planting illustration, if you're planting a tree, your goal in planting that tree is super important. It's going to determine everything. Are you planting a tree for shade? Are you planting it to be decorative? Are you planting it for fruit? Your goal is going to determine where you put it, how you trim it, which one you buy, all those things. Everything is going to be determined by the goal. And it's the same way with just about everything in life, and it's the same way with parenting. And so I wanted to just start by having us consider, okay, what is the goal of parenting? And there are lots of good goals in parenting, but they're not quite ultimate goals. So for example, one of the goals many of us have in parenting is we want our kids, or our future kids, to develop special skills. You know, we want them to be a good musician, or we want them to be a good baseball player, or we want them to be a good, student. And that's a good goal. And that's something that we shoot for. It's something that people shoot for. Another goal might be psychological adjustment. We want our kids to be well adjusted psychologically, able to interact well with other humans, able to interact well with the world around them, able to be stable in the world, hold a job, hold a conversation, all those things. Another goal might be family worship. Some people make that a huge goal in their family. They just think if we just have family worship, if we're just one of those families where we're reading the Bible together and we're singing together and we're doing all that, then everything will be okay. That's our ultimate goal, is to have family worship. Another goal, again, a good goal, is to have well-behaved children. We just think, man, if they would just listen to me and we could have somewhat of a clean house and they would kind of do what I say, then that would be good. There's tons of goals you could have it, but finally, the last example is successful children. That's something people shoot for. Is I just want my kids to be successful, however we define success, monetarily or in their career or in their family. And these are all good goals, but they're not worthy of being ultimate. They're not worthy of being the ultimate goal of parenting. Why is that? Well, I think because they're not based on fundamental truth. Whether you're a Christian or not, and I know all of you here, so I know all of you are, but whether you're a Christian or not, you want to base something so important as parenting on a foundational truth, not on something that comes and goes. You want to base it on core principles, on core values that don't change. And so we want our goal in parenting to be informed by what we believe to be fundamentally true about the world. And if you believe that there is a God, and you believe that he did make us, and he made us for himself, and he made us in his image, and then he came for us in Jesus Christ, and that he made us to glorify him, then that has to inform our ultimate goal in parenting. And so, and I think I would want to encourage you guys at the end to take some time to think about your goal in parenting and even write it out later, but I think it's got to involve something to do with living for God's glory, because that's why everything exists. That's why that tree out there exists. That's why ants exist. That's why grass exists. That's why clouds exist. That's why we exist, to live for God's glory. And so we want to parent for God's glory. We need that should inform, that ultimate goal should inform everything else. And there's certainly going to be side benefits to that. I mean, if you live your life based on God's word and you parent based on God's word, there are going to be side benefits, but they're not the ultimate thing we're shooting for. And so I just wanted to start off by saying that to make sure that we don't make a good goal the ultimate goal. So you're going to hear a lot of principles and a lot of practical advice, especially from, not as much from me, because I'm just right in the middle of the first part of parenting, so I don't have that to offer. I'm mostly going to be covering biblical principles and values and things like that. But even when you hear good tips and when you hear about how to help your children behave and how to control what influences their life, we need to remember that those things aren't the goal in and of themselves. The ultimate goal is to have kids who live for God's glory. And when you make a good goal the ultimate goal, bad things happen. So why don't we want to make a good goal the ultimate goal? What happens when we do that? I think a number of things happen when we make a good goal our ultimate goal. 1, we miss what's most important. 2, we emphasize the wrong things. And then 3, we look back with regret. So I think an easy way to think about this would be to picture this scene that happens all over the country every year during baseball season, and it's dads getting in fist fights in the stands at a Little League game. It happens all the time. You hear about it, and it happens because parents have traded in a good goal for an ultimate goal, right? So what's the ultimate goal of putting your kid in a sport? Well, I don't know exactly what that would be for you, but it would probably be something like to help them socialize and to help teach them, how to work with other people and physically, to help them keep their bodies physically fit. There's all kinds of good, ultimate goals of putting your kid in a sport. And then there are secondary goals, like you want them to win, right? And that's not a bad goal. It's not a bad thing to be sitting there in the stands and want your kid to win. But if you make a good goal, winning, the ultimate goal, you end up maybe getting in a fist fight in the stands, right? Because you're going to be willing to cheat a little bit while your ultimate goal is winning. Or you're going to be willing to get frustrated about some other kid's performance. Why? Because your ultimate goal is winning, and you're going to emphasize the wrong things. So I think this picture of this fist fight, I don't know why this just really helps me. This picture of this fist fight at a Little League game really helps me see the damage that comes from making a good thing the ultimate thing. And I think you guys would agree that we want to minimize number 3 here. We want to minimize how much we look back with regret as parents, because you're going to have some regret. None of us are going to be at the end of our parenting run and think, we did it perfect, 100%, 10 out of 10. If we're that delusional, maybe we'll be happy, but we'll be delusional, right? But we'll all look back with regret, but we want to minimize regret. And to do that, I think we need to have our eyes on the prize. 'Cause I think you would agree that parenting is just too important. Parenting is too important to settle for less. We've been entrusted with these kids. We've been entrusted with rearing them, with guiding their growth and guiding their development. And so it's just too important to settle for a lesser goal. And so we would all agree with that, but I think rarely do we stop and ask ourselves, what is our goal with these kids? What are we aiming for? What is most important to us? And to do that, we have to be intentional. Why? Because what we want to see happen won't happen by accident. That's just not how life works, and it's not how parenting works. We all want to be more intentional. We can't do that without identifying a goal. So I just kind of want those thoughts to just go over top of everything we're talking about today. That if you come out of here with just that thought, I think it would be a win. I think there's going to be a lot of other really practical and helpful truths and tips and values. But if you leave here just knowing, okay, we want to have a goal. We want to have something we're shooting for when it comes to parenting, when it comes to every area of parenting, and then we're going to be intentional to work towards that goal. I think that would be a win.